Hey everyone, I'm Doug.
And I'm Whit.
And we are
the
Stream Team.
I haven't said that for a while.
It's been a while, yeah. It's been what? Not quite a month since we shot one, but it's not
Nearly,
far
yeah.
off. Yeah, we're actually going to talk about the ATEM Mini.
ATEM Mini.
So we've kind of danced around this a lot, and we've shown it in several of the videos, but we've never really talked about what the switcher is, what it's capable of, or how to use some of its more advanced features.
Right.
So that's kind of what I wanted to cover today. So
I just know it's extremely popular and budget friendly.
Yep, very much so. Yes, and as a result, these things are selling like crazy. And they're back ordered, even 8 months after
They're
they were
still
announced.
back ordered.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, they can't make enough of them. So, but ATEM Mini video switcher has 4 inputs. The inputs on there are HDMI. So
you can use up to 4 cameras.
Yep. Or other sources. It doesn't have to be a camera, so you can connect in a computer or a video player of some kind. So if you got a pre-recorded piece of video you want to play, you can connect it to one of the HDMI inputs as well.
What about a phone?
You can do phones, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yep. So you just have to get an adapter cable to let you use HDMI from your phone. But I've done that a few times. I actually did that for one of your live streams on Instagram. I wanted to get a recording of that.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So I've connected the HDMI output of my iPad into a switcher and recorded that. So, but basically anything that you can convert to HDMI that isn't copy protected. So you can't like hook a Blu-ray player into it, or even like a Roku and watch. I mean, you're not gonna be able to do
try and get the movies off of
Netflix
there.
or Disney Plus, or yeah, it doesn't work. So as soon as you connect the source that has copy protection on it, it just goes black. You don't get any picture at all. No picture, no sound. So
some bootleggers are
yeah,
out of luck.
Yeah, you got to figure out some other way to copy your videos. You're not going to get any help from us here. So.
5 people are like, oh man, they just click off this
we
video.
just lost subscribers. So yeah, you can select any of 4 sources, plus it also has a still source, so you can actually preload images into the switcher, so JPEGs, PNGs, those kinds of things. And there's a black source as well. You can choose between a couple different transitions. So you've got the cut, which is, I've only got one source here, so when I cut it's going to go to black. Look, there you go. So yeah, or there's an auto, so if it fades back in.
Does this dissolve. Oh, that's kind of cool, only the monitor changed.
It also has an audio mixer built into it, a very simple one. So on each of the different channels, you can choose whether the audio is off, on, and then there's this a button called AFV, stands for Audio Follow Video. Basically what that means is you get audio from that source whenever that source is live, but otherwise that source is muted. So if you had if you had a camera that had a microphone plugged into it and you only wanted to get audio from that while that camera is live, then you hit the AFV, and then anytime you cut to that camera, that audio source becomes active, otherwise it's turned off. So these up-down buttons that are right here are actually used to control the volume for that particular audio source. So yeah, and then in addition to the audio from the different cameras, it also has 2 inputs on the back. You can see those. Yeah, they're over here. Going to be a little bit difficult to see on that, but yeah, there's 2 inputs there for external audio sources. So you can connect into. Well, you can connect the microphone if you want, but you can also connect into an audio mixer. So if you got a whole bunch of different sources, you need to combine in order to build an entire mix.
But you can only do 2.
You can only do 2 here, right? Exactly. Okay. So if you need more than that, that's when you connect your mixer, because your mixer.
Your mixer can do.
Yeah, as many sources as it can handle. On or off buttons for turning those inputs, audio inputs on and off, and buttons to change the volume on those. In addition to that, you've actually got a picture-in-picture feature up here. So turn that on. Ooh. And yeah, getting a little tiny.
The same picture.
Same picture twice, yes. Yeah, but since we only have the one source hooked up, yeah, that's what we get. You can control which corner of the screen that appears in with these buttons here. And then when you're done, turn it back off again. It also has 1 key. So we talked about keys in a previous video. So it has 1 you can turn on. That's an upstream key. The switcher also does have a downstream key, but there's no button on the panel to actually get to it.
Oh, you have to go in the software? You
have to go in the software.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, and then...
So this is like basically the bare minimum
Yeah,
of what you can do.
So the switcher does a fair amount more than what you can get to on just on the buttons on the front panel.
Right.
So if you really want to be able to take advantage of what this thing is capable of, you're going to want to hook to a computer. There's two different ways to do that. Right now we're actually hooked with an Ethernet cable. That's what this purple one here is for. You can also do USB-C and go directly into a computer that way. So it's labeled webcam out,
Okay.
but it actually can be used to control the switcher from the software as well.
So either one.
Either one, yeah. I actually recommend going with Ethernet. It's a little more flexible. You can connect multiple devices if you want to have two people to have control over it, or you wanted to invest in an external tally system, or any other number of things that know how to talk to the ATEM switchers.
Oh, okay.
They're all going to do it through the Ethernet instead of the USB. So,
oh, okay.
yeah, it's a better way to go. Now, the USB on the back is labeled webcam out because this thing actually pretends to be a webcam.
Oh.
So you can use it with things like Skype or Zoom or anything on the computer. So that would allow you to use well, that would allow you to use a fancy camera like this if you want to do a conference call, or you can. The main reason they did that is so you can connect it to some streaming software like OBS or Wirecast or whatever. So you use your switcher going into the computer, and the computer encodes the video to go out to YouTube or Facebook Live or whatever the case may be. And having that USB is the easiest way to do that. You don't have to buy any external converter boxes to convert from HDMI to your computer. It just goes over the USB connection over the webcam out.
Okay.
The downside to that, it's not near as high quality as the HDMI output, so it's going to look a little bit pixelated, kind of a little bit washed out compared to if you were to use the HDMI.
So that's just more for like conference type?
Yeah, conferences, but any sort of live streaming that you want to do. So kind of like the YouTube videos that we do live, you could do a lot of that with these switchers. You know, you connect up your cameras and then hook your USB connection up to your computer, and then use the computer to do the video encoding to get it out to YouTube. Now if you step up to the ATEM Mini Pro, it actually has a few more buttons over here to do two things primarily. One is streaming directly. So it's able to stream out through the Ethernet port. And the switcher itself is able to do the encoding that you need to get out to YouTube or whatever, whatever live streaming service you want. So you don't have to have a computer to do the encoding or like a Teradek or one of those things.
Oh yeah,
so,
I remember, the biggest thing was you didn't need a Teradek.
Right.
So it was worth it because it was all in one.
Yeah, if you want something simple and easy.
Is it cheaper?
The switcher is cheaper than a Teradek by itself. Yeah. So so you're getting the switcher, and for a lot of people that will make a lot of sense. You're not getting all the benefits of an external box, but it works well enough for most cases. The second functionality you get with the additional buttons is recording, direct recording. So you can plug in a USB hard drive or SSD, hit one button, and it just records to a file on the drive. Yeah.
That's nice.
So
I like simplicity.
Yeah. Again, there's always downsides to a lot of these things, though. So like when you do that, it's always in the exact same quality that you're doing for your live stream. So if you've got a slow internet connection, your local recording is going to be low quality as well.
Right.
Yeah, just kind of. But you can't expect everything out of a $700 device, right? So there's some compromises you're going to be making there.
This is like for people who are just getting more into streaming.
Yeah, it's people getting started, or people who don't need it, really don't want anything fancy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do a big conference with one of these things.
Right.
But it would be something like this would actually be pretty good for the sort of videos that we're doing for the channel. Aside from the fact that it's HD instead of 4K.
Oh, right, this doesn't do 4K.
Yeah, it doesn't do 4K.
That's the other thing. Okay.
Yeah. So, but for other than that, we could actually get away with this. We got 3 cameras here, so we put 3 cameras on the inputs, and then use the 4th one for the computer display. We could actually do a decent job of doing this sort of production on this device, especially because since it uses HDMI, and HDMI cords can't be very long. We're in close enough quarters here, you can actually get away with it.
Right.
So, but a big conference where the camera's 50 feet away.
No way.
Yeah, don't even try it.
Don't do that.
Yeah, it's our old using a sedan to haul manure analogy. It stinks.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah, so it works, but you don't want to do it.
Right.
So any questions on that so far?
I did have a question about the black. What does this do?
That just takes you to a black screen. So if we hit that.
Okay, so if you ever need to go black, there's just one button.
Yep.
And then what was this one?
Stills. So that's that's if you want to load graphics in there, so like a JPEG.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, it holds you can hold a number of graphics. We'll see the actual interface to do that here in a minute.
And then FTP?
Fade to black.
FTB.
Yeah, fade to black. So you hit that.
So it's kind of the same thing.
Slowly fades to black.
There's black or there's fade to black.
Yeah.
Why is the fade to black so much bigger than the tiny black one?
Good question.
But,
so
okay, just a design choice.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing about this one is when you're in cut mode, you hit it, that doesn't fade, it just cuts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that was an odd choice to include a black button on there, but
yeah, that's
whatever.
why I was staring at it. I was like, what is the point of that?
So,
okay.
So it's there. A couple other things I forgot to mention. So you can actually set the duration of the transition. So if we're in auto mode and you want it to take 2 seconds to do the dissolve, you can hit the 2 there, and then it takes a while. Or if you want it to take half a second, you hit the button there, 0.5. And there are also some wipes in here, so
why?
Your favorite. So there you go.
Oh man, that was horrible. That was so ugly.
So
don't use those buttons.
Yeah.
Anymore.
So it's there, but again, not the sort of thing you see professionals doing.
Unless you're making a goof, some kind of goofy video.
use it as a special effect, not as a normal transition.
Yeah,
that's
don't
for
use
sure.
it all the time. It's gonna be ugly.
So that's the way that the switcher actually ships. There's other additional functionality you can get to in the software. So.
And the software comes.
Software comes
with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you have to go to their website to download it.
Okay.
But so you go up to File, Connection. There's the ATEM Mini. And we'll hit Connect. There we go. And so now we're talking to this switcher over Ethernet connection. And
Okay.
we'll do another video at some point on basic computer networking, so you understand what it takes to make this work.
Right.
But
I don't understand how most things work.
We'll save that
intricately anyway.
We'll save that for another day. That's a much longer discussion. But so once things are plugged into the network and you've got the addresses that's set such so they can talk to one another, you launch the ATEM software control, and then you're able to control the switcher.
Okay.
So actually, before we do that, I wanted to bring up the setup software. So because there's a couple options you can change in there.
So you can customize it?
You can customize the way the switcher works. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'll choose there.
That's nice.
ATEM Mini. So I'll go into the settings here. Okay, there we go. All right, so the first one we can change is what's called the switching mode. So by default, it's in cut bus mode. And what that means is whenever you press one of these buttons over here, it immediately cuts to that source.
Okay.
So you choose your transition first.
Not the way you're supposed to do it, right?
That's not my favorite way to do it. And that's not the way professionals do it. It's easier for people to understand because it's like you just press one button and it goes. It's like,
but it's easier to make a mistake that way.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get a second chance.
Right.
So yeah, that's the default way that it ships. But you can change that and you go into program preview mode. So you say switching mode, program preview, and yeah, and then you save. And so now, when I press these, that's previewing what's going to go next.
Okay.
And then to actually make the transition, then you hit your cut.
I like the colors.
Or your auto.
It makes it very apparent.
More festive.
Well, it's like I know like green means it's not recording, so.
Yeah. So red is live.
Very
and
easy.
Green is whatever source is up next, right?
Right.
So yeah, so that's the way I prefer to use it. But again, that's not the way that it ships. So if you want to do that, you have to go into this ATEM software. You have to change that.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's the first thing.
Okay.
Notice a couple other options in there. We'll take a look at those real fast.
Before, when you were saying cut on the bus, I thought you were saying bust.
Oh.
So this whole time I thought he was saying bust.
Sorry.
I'm glad I know that now, so I don't sound like an idiot next time I talk to someone about
preview and
whatever.
program bus, B-U-S. Although some people
bus
spell
doesn't really make sense to me, though. Why is it bus? What does that mean?
It's a term that they use in electronics to refer to way of communicating data. So,
Okay.
yeah. So like audio mixers have multiple buses too. So,
Oh.
yeah. Just the terminology they've selected. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of like bus, like an actual bus, like a school bus or
I guess
whatever.
like
So you transport something from one place to another. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
In my brain.
So, yeah.
I guess I could say bust and people would just think I'm just a
Or
weird accent.
Maybe they don't hear the T and
Yeah.
think it's normal.
I am from Utah, so I don't really pronounce my T's very well.
Alright, so a couple other options that are in the software here. So we have picture-in-picture keyer, and there's two options here. It says drop with transition and then stay on with transition. So you have the option there. So when you have the picture-in-picture live, you can either tell it to automatically turn it off when you cut away to another source, or have it stay on screen all the time, and then you have to manually turn it off. So you can change that behavior here. And the same thing with the chroma keyer, drop with transition or stay on with transition. So those are the options that are set in the ATEM setup. Don't ask me why those are set here and then everything else is done in a different program, but that's...
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the way that it works.
So to do that, you just have to go to the setup.
You have to get ATEM setup software, yep. Yeah.
How do you get there?
So it's just going to be on, after you install the software, it'll just be in your start menu, Blackmagicdesign, and then ATEM setup.
Okay.
So,
just look for that, okay.
Yep. So we'll close that and we'll actually go into ATEM software control, which is the one that lets you do more control. Yeah.
Everything else.
Yeah, everything else. Alright, so what we're seeing here, this is basically what the interface you'd see if this was a bigger switcher.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was
more
thinking.
buttons, yeah. So this is exposing all that functionality that's normally hidden, since you only have a handful of buttons here. So first set here, we talked about this in a previous video, but this is your preview bus, and then up here is your program bus. So
why did I think it was bus? That's so bad.
I'm sure I just said it weird.
I just probably thought you weren't pronouncing the T, I guess.
And so the program, any change you make here goes live immediately. You don't get any warning. You don't get to undo a mistake. So normally we recommend using the preview. So you select the source that you want to go next, and then you come over here and you choose your transition. So that's where we have our cut and auto buttons. And you can mix and match, so you can do some over here and then some over here. They're all doing the same thing. So if you like having these on one hand and then using your mouse with your other hand to do it in the software, you can do that. It doesn't really matter where you're pressing the buttons. They all do the same thing.
Okay.
But then you got all your different sources. So your cameras 1 through 4, those are your HDMI inputs. There's your black source. There's color bars, which no button for it here, right?
Oh, okay.
Media player 1, which that's your graphics, like your JPEGs or whatever. We'll talk about that more in a minute. And then we actually have 2 color sources, color 1 and color 2. So those are actually set up here. Blackmagic defaults into their colors, company colors, white and orange, but you can set those to anything you want.
Oh.
So if you wanted to have a solid blue screen, you can do that. So, but again.
Oh, so if you want, those are for transitions?
It's actually just another video source, like a camera. So.
Oh.
Yeah, but those colors are also used for the dip transition.
Okay.
So if you wanted to dip to black, set color 1 to black, and then choose dip as your transition source.
Could you dip to blue?
Yeah.
Or whatever color you want?
You just set color 1 to whatever color you want to use.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can.
For fun. I don't know.
So yeah, there's more functionality here. You also get your T-bar here. So, with the auto button here, you only have 4 speeds to do the transition. So you can only go half second, 1 second, 1.5 seconds, or 2 seconds. But if you want to do it manually, you can just grab this T-bar.
Oh yeah, that's to do it manually.
And drag it. Much better on a touch screen than it is on a regular
Yeah,
monitor.
that looks a little cumbersome.
It's hard to get a nice steady speed when you're using a mouse. But yeah, if you got a touch screen, that actually works really well.
It's just like a normal button. So.
Yeah, and if you want to change the auto speed, you can actually do that down here. So if you wanted to say 20 frames, 0:20, and then when you do your auto, it's 20 frames instead of whatever. So you got more customization there. This is also where you can turn your key on and off, a little more control than you have with just the on-off button here. This one you can say I want it to, the upstream key to transition with my regular transition, my cutter, my auto, instead of just being on air, on or off. So the button here is actually the same as on air, which doesn't matter what you're doing.
Okay.
It just takes it live. And then
it sounds cool. You're on air.
Yeah, exactly.
That's professional.
Yep. And then we have our fade to black button over here, where you can also set the transition speed. So by default it's 1 second, but if you wanted to have a 3-second fade to black, you type in 3:00 for 3 seconds and 0 frames, and then when you hit the button, it takes 3 seconds to do the fade out. So yeah, again, more control than you get with just the panel.
Oh, okay.
Now, one feature that's missing entirely from the panel that's available in software is the downstream key. So this would be a layer you put on top of everything else that you kind of want to stay on for a long period of time, like I tend to use these for lower third graphics, so like somebody's name, so you can put it up on the screen and then switch cameras and it stays on screen, and then when you're done you just take it off.
Right.
Or like the little logo they put in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, I was just going to say, or the logo.
Yeah, it's called a bug. But yeah, it's all...
Bug.
Yeah, they call them bugs. So you do that with the downstream key as well. So and that's...
Okay.
You can turn that on and off here.
Remember you talking about downstream.
Yep.
I just needed a refresher.
Yep. Yeah, and remember everything is left to right. So choose your video source, choose your transition style, anything that you want to... Any overlays that you want to turn on or off with the transition are up here. And then you've got your T-bar to control the transition, and then the downstream key comes after your transition, so that's why it's over here on the right.
Oh,
so.
okay.
So.
That's nice.
Yep.
Just
and then, yep, left to right. So, and then over here in this section is where we can control more aspects of it. So I've got the color generator selected right now, but we can also set parameters associated with the upstream key. So if you wanted to use a luma key, where you use the brightness of the image to determine what's transparent, you can do that. Chroma, where like green screen, where the green becomes transparent, that's where you'd set that. You also got a DVE, digital effects unit, digital video effects. That's what allows you to scale a source down. So the picture-in-picture we saw earlier, that's done with a DVE. So the DVE is just the portion of the switcher that can scale and move a video source around. So you can actually have that be part of your upstream key as well. And then within that, you can choose which video source you're going to use for the upstream key, whether it's a camera or it's one of your graphics and through a media player or whatever. If you got a computer source on one of your camera inputs, you can mask it off. So you say, I only want to use the lower third of the screen. So you would set that in the masking options. Add a shadow behind it. Give it a border. Any number of things that you can do with that. So again, all this functionality that's in the switcher, but you can't get to on...
But you can't get to it.
Yeah, you can't get to it on the panel.
Okay.
So, yep. And then besides upstream key, you can also control your transitions. So, you know, mix, which is the crossfade, and set the duration of that. Dip, which is like the dip to black that we talked about. So you choose which color you're going to be using. Or you can actually, there you go. You actually have a dedicated black. You could dip to black. And then you've got your parameters for your downstream key. So you select which video source, how long it takes to do the transition on and off. I got a video on this channel about how all the upstream downstream key stuff works. It's way beyond what we can cover here.
Yeah.
But
did we do that? Is that the one we did? Or you have a different one
I have
too?
a different one that goes way more in depth than anything we've done on this series, yeah. And then Fade to Black has this option. It's called audio follow video. And that's just like these other buttons here. So when you turn that on and you fade to black, all your audio fades out too. Otherwise, the picture goes black and you still get sound.
So I think we've done
probably yeah. So I always turn that on all my switchers. Just it's like when I hit fade to black, I know everything goes away. You know. So okay.
So like a normal big switcher would have all of this on here.
Well, it depends on the switcher. Like, you know, I've got my big switcher over there, but it has no control panel at all. Oh. So, you know, you can either control it through the software, or you buy something like this, or you buy like the advanced panel from Blackmagic, the ones specifically the ones they just announced last week. So yeah.
But those are also like $6,000.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive. I can't imagine anybody.
And then this is, how much is this one?
$295.
$295. So you know,
spend 20 times as much for the control panel as you do for the device you're controlling. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, no.
But it does work. I mean, if you wanted to, you could.
I don't know why, but...
So another thing I've got here is I've got a panel for a media player. Not a lot to control from the media player here. You can choose which graphic. Again, we'll get to that in a minute. You can choose which graphic is in there. But you can also control Blackmagic Design's HyperDeck Studio recorders from here. And then the last one here is output. These are mostly applicable to other models of switcher, but you can capture a still image. So if you want to save like a JPEG or something like that off the video, you can do that.
Do it right now?
Well, it's this camera, but yeah. And so, yeah, and then some timecode stuff. So the output tab is not very useful on the regular ATEM Mini, but on ATEM Mini Pro, this is where you set up your streaming options. So you tell it, I want to go to YouTube, this is the stream key that I need to use, that kind of thing. So that would be, you'll find that on the output tab. So
Okay.
again, it'd be really hard to do that from a front panel. You're typing in those long weird codes.
Yeah, that's true.
So
You'd wanna
it's
do
just
that
way
on here.
better to bring the software, bring the software up. So, okay, so that's the switcher tab. Now we'll go.
Oh.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
Just the switcher tab. Okay.
Yeah, the other ones won't take as long. So the next one is the media tab, and this is where you can actually load in graphics. So you saw a minute ago that I hit the button to store a still. Oh, there it is. It captured that in there.
Oh,
So
okay.
if we wanted to use that, we're here to capture one into this media player, and then if I hit the still button, let's see, the switcher is on 5. Okay, so there's the live view, but then if I cut, there's the still that we captured just a minute ago. So I don't know when you use that, but it's there.
You use it when you're on a Zoom call, but you don't really want to be there.
That's right.
And you just kind of sit there and smile, or like make like a stoic like listening face.
I'm very interested.
And then you go do whatever you want. I've heard about students doing that, like on Zoom and stuff.
Yeah.
Or they'll do a video and put their phone in front of the camera, and so they'll just kind of like sit like this, and then they'll leave. It's like, that's really
It
smart.
works until somebody tries to talk to you.
Yeah, and unless they get asked a question, it's gonna work.
So, you can also load your own pictures in here as well. So, and if we go to,
okay.
Yeah, so go into your whatever directory you want, and then your files would show up here, and you just drag and drop. So this has 6 times 3 plus 2, so it has 20 slots that you can load graphics into.
I like drag and drop.
Yep. So I just drag them from here over into,
nice
into
and
whichever
simple.
box you want. So that way you can have 20 graphics preloaded, ready to go, and you just go into the software to choose which one you want, and then those become available on the still button.
Oh, okay.
On
So
there.
you just sort of drag it
drag
to
it from
whatever
here
you want,
over
and
into
then
the
you'll
media
hit the
player.
button.
Yeah.
And
So this switcher only has one media player, so you've only got one place you can take it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this one doesn't do video in the media player like some of their higher end switchers do. Like some of the other ones, you could have a video here instead of.
Does the Pro?
No.
No. Okay.
So
much higher.
You have to go into considerably higher end models to get that.
Oh, okay.
But so that's that. So you can load in your graphics there. Audio is an audio mixer, and it's actually a pretty good one to be quite honest, for being one that's controlled with software. So yeah, you not only able to control levels, but you also get an equalizer in there, and
That's cool.
you also get dynamics. So you've got a compressor that you can use to keep your levels in check. There's another option in the preferences where you can actually split up your channels. So if you had 2 different speakers, like one on your left input of your camera and one on another right input of your camera, you can have those be controlled separately. So some cool things there. Yeah, so we could do a whole video on the audio mixer in the ATEM.
And if you're saying it's good, then it's probably
it's pretty good.
Pretty good,
Yeah. So the audio mixing capabilities are better than my big switcher. So it does more. This one's actually kind of useful. I mean, it's always nice to have real faders
right. Yeah.
instead of having to go in software to control stuff. But the capabilities of the unit itself were actually pretty good. So
Yeah, I didn't even know it could do that.
Yep. So yeah, you can use it to build your audio mix. And far more capabilities than you get with just the buttons
Right.
that are here.
Yeah.
So, all right, and
But usually you would just set those before and then not touch them.
generally
throughout
speaking,
the
yeah,
stream.
except for muting, you know, someone's done with their presentation, you mute their channel so that as they're talking when they walk off stage or something.
Go to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good example. Yeah. So, and then the last tab, which I'm not going to cover in any real detail here, but this is where you can control the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras. You see, do exposure control, color manipulation, setting your white balance, shutter speed, gain, all those kinds of things. So if you happen to have one of those cameras and you connect it over HDMI, you can control those features. So.
That's just for the Blackmagic.
But it's only for the Pocket Cinema cameras from
Pocket
Blackmagic.
Cinema
Yeah,
cam.
yeah,
Oh,
just that
very
one particular
specific.
line from that one particular manufacturer. It doesn't work with anybody else, no other cameras. So
Interesting.
yeah, cool feature. Not useful for a lot of us.
Yeah, if like you don't have it, then I guess.
Yeah, if you don't have one of
You
those
don't get
cameras,
it.
then kind of
Sounds
designed
cool.
these things to sort of be a package. You know, they meant for you to get the ATEM Mini and then get
Right.
a Pocket Cinema camera or two, and it kind of all goes together. They designed them all to work together.
They want you to stay with their stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and they talk to each one another really nicely, and you get other cool features like, for example, it has the tally lights. So when camera 1 is live, then the little red light on camera 1 actually lights up.
Nice.
So someone watching can say, "Hey, that camera is the one
I
that's
love
active."
it.
So.
I hate it when there's no tally light because sometimes you can't hear when you're on camera, and then it's just nice because you immediately will see the color.
Yep.
And know if you're live or not immediately. So.
Yep. So.
That's cool. I might have to get a pocket cam just to try that. Eventually I'll get one, and I'll stop talking about it.
Or just buddy up with somebody who has one. You can borrow them all the time.
I'll talk to Terry. Can you send me a pocket cam, please? 6K.
So, in the settings, which you access from the little gear icon down here, this is where you can set your video output standard. By default, it starts in auto mode. And what that does, it chooses whatever video format that it's going to use based on whatever source you connect to input 1. So if your camera is outputting 1080p 60 and you plug into that input, then switcher automatically switches to doing everything in 1080p 60.
Even if you add other cameras that are different?
Even if you add other cameras that are different,
they'll all be 1080 60?
Well, internally in the switcher, it'll always be 1080p 60. What happens with other sources is it converts them to 1080p 60.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, that's one of the nice features of this. It automatically does those conversions for you.
Yeah.
But
if you don't want that.
But if you don't want that, yeah. So I personally don't like that because HDMI can be a little bit unpredictable. You connect it up one time, you get 60. You connect it up another time, you get 30. It's like, oh, I didn't do anything different. Well, yeah, I know you didn't, but
yeah,
but it has a mind of its own.
Yeah.
So I definitely prefer to set the video standard manually. So for this sort of video like we're doing right here, I do 1080p 2997 or 30 frames per second. If we're doing something music oriented, or we wanted to have more film-like look, we do 1080p 2998. If we're doing something with a lot of action, we might do 1080p at 5994. But you notice they're all 1080p. The switcher only does 1080.
Yeah, they only do 1080p.
It doesn't even do 720. So
it
it's
doesn't?
1080 only, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you need to change your resolution, that's where you do that. And then the audio tab is where you basically separate. So channel 1 is actually 2 different sources.
Oh, okay.
And then you can set labels. You can actually label these sources any way you want. So if you got a computer connected instead of a camera, you can say computer there on the
so
label.
you don't get confused.
So make it a little
nice.
easier, yeah. And you can do your inputs and your outputs. Although I'm not sure why you'd want to do an output on this. Hyperdeck is where you control their hyperdeck recorders, and then remote control is not a free feature on this particular model. So.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, that's crash course on the ATEM Mini.
I mean, yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot of functionality for $295.
That
is
a lot.
That's kind of amazing.
I'm starting to understand more and more why people like it.
Another video will do comparison between this and some of their other higher end models.
Yeah.
So you can kind of get an idea for what you're missing with this versus something else. Upgrades you get by going to another model, that kind of thing. But again, it's a great switcher for someone who's just starting out or whose needs are modest. You don't need more than 4 video sources.
Right.
You know, you don't want to invest in expensive cameras with SDI or whatever. You know, you can start out very simple with something like this. So yeah. With that said, I'm sure there are a lot of questions about the ATEM Mini out there. So if you have questions, you can leave those in the comment section down below, and Whit will try to answer those. No, just kidding. I will do my best.
I'm going to be asking you.
I will do my best to answer those.
Might as well cut out the middleman.
So yeah, there's that.
Okay.
So yeah.
We got shirts.
Yes.
In case you guys didn't notice.
Third time's the charm on hers. They kept screwing hers up.
Yeah, I finally got it in the right.
The third one, I finally got it right. So.
Weird having my face on myself. And mugs.
Yep.
But
Stream Team on one side, DJP on the other. So those are just for us. We're gonna do different mugs for merchandise. It's like a talk show, right?
I know, right? So we look professional now.
So.
But we'll probably design some more stuff for merch.
Not probably, it's happening.
Yes, I need to design some stuff.
We'll both do it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to put all the onus for that on just you.
Yeah. And then, in case if you guys missed the live stream we just did, we're going to be hitting 10,000 subscribers soon.
Pretty
so
soon, yeah. Less than 3 weeks, likely.
we will do a party, virtual party live stream. We're gonna dress up and get a cake and
balloons, and
play
we're trying to find
game.
we're
or
trying to find a
something.
fun online game that we can do with people that are watching.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any ideas, we're certainly welcome.
Mhm.
Certainly open to that. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what to do. I just wanted to dress up.
it's fun.
Something, and 1.5
1.5 million views.
Million
Probably on the
views.
same day as the 10,000
on the same day, which is kind of crazy.
Just what?
So another reason to celebrate.
Yep. So party.
Yes.
So
Pop the champagne. It's just like, oh man, that would screw everything
Yeah,
up
we
in
don't
here.
wanna do
That's a
that
bad
in
idea. Never mind. We'll get confetti.
Mm.
Well, actually, no.
If you want to clean
Just
it up,
make
we
it
can
all
have
virtual.
confetti.
Never mind. We're good. We'll just
So,
dress up. That's
yeah.
easier.
So, other than that, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We do video-related content all the time.
Yeah.
We're aiming for 3 videos a week, and up until the last couple weeks, we've been doing a pretty good job of that. And we'll get back to it too. Just
We have lives.
she's been traveling. I've had other projects going on, and so
Yeah.
it hasn't worked the last couple weeks. But so yeah, subscribe. Be sure and share these videos with people who are interested in live streaming or any sort of live production.
Mm-hmm.
And also just click the thumbs up, like the video. That helps quite a lot with the YouTube recommendation algorithm to get the views out to, or get the recommendations out to other people.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that.
yep, yeah. So
Cool.
YouTube likes to recommend videos that they know people like. So
Weird.
I know. It's a
doesn't make any sense at
novel
all.
idea. So anyway, yeah.
Great.
But thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you later.